So many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members.
Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, as we said, she was calling for the deprogramming of Trump's MAGA base. But is that possible? Can it be done? And what plan does she have in mind to make it happen? Well, her strategy was not detail-filled in a conversation she had with Christiane Amanpour of CNN. And it involves a man who, as we sit here and as Cenk teased a little bit at the top of the show, is not beating Trump right now, at least according to some of the polls we've seen. Here we go.
You said you have to defeat them by defeating their leader. Their leader is Donald Trump. Even you have said that you expect him to be the Republican nominee. How does this change at all?
At this point, I think, sadly, he will still likely be the nominee, and we have to defeat him. And we have to defeat those who are the election deniers, as we did in 2020 and 2022. And we have to, just be smarter about how we are trying to empower the right people inside the Republican Party. So it is like a cult. And somebody has to break the break that momentum. And that's why I believe Joe Biden will defeat him. And hopefully then that will be the end and the fever will break. And then Republicans can try to get back to, fighting about issues among themselves and electing people who are at least, responsible and accountable.
The question remains, though, whether the former secretary understands what motivates these voters, these MAGA voters. And I'll leave that to you, I guess, to decide. Here is a little more from Hillary Clinton.
The base of the Republican Party, for whatever combination of reasons, and it is emotional and psychological, sees in him someone who speaks for them. And they are determined that they will continue to vote for him, attend his rallies, wear his merchandise, because for whatever reason, he and his very negative, nasty form of politics resonates with them. Maybe they don't like migrants. Maybe they don't like gay people or black people or the woman who got the promotion at work they didn't get. Whatever the reason, Make America Great Again was a bid for nostalgia, to return to a place where, people could be in charge of their lives, feel empowered, say what they want, insult whoever came in their way. And that was really attractive.
And so, you hear how Clinton sums it up. And she sums it up by talking about the negative parts of the people that support MAGA, the racism, the bigotry, the sexism, the anti-migrant part. But there are also lots of, real racists out there who don't get the support that Trump gets. It's a bigger umbrella that he thinks that he has over these people. And he actually responded to this. He heard this, apparently. He saw the interview. He responded to it. And then, Trump and his people, his MAGA people, sent out an email blast today saying essentially this: President Trump has said countless times that they're only coming after him because he stands in their way from coming after you. And Hillary Clinton just confirmed that to be true. Tens of millions of Americans will reject the Democrat Party's re-education camp agenda in November of 2024 when we make Donald Trump the 47th president of the United States. That's Caroline Levitt, a spokesman for Make America Great Again Incorporated. So you do, Cenk, see the Trump people jumping on this, because when Hillary Clinton said things like deplorables in 2015 and 2016, they jumped on that to great success. She's not the candidate, but do you think it's important?
Yeah, so look, I feel that this is 50-50 again, just like the deplorables comment. I think it's complicated and nuanced. In a minute, we're going to show you a video where Trump supporters basically answered this question that Michael was talking to them at a campaign event, and they actually talked about whether they're in a cult. We're going to get to that. But so I thought all along, and I even wrote it in my book, Justice is Coming, that the deplorable comment was half right. So half of Trump's guys are deplorables. Thank you, Michael, I appreciate that. We'll take a shot at Michael. So yeah, there you go. Nice plug there, tyt.com/justice. Okay, seriously, so yeah, there's some folks that are feel displaced. Their rightful places at the top, and now it's not at the top. Now they have to be equal to everyone, and that really bothers them. Is it conscious for most of them? No, I don't. Probably even for the deplorable half, it's not conscious for most of them. It's mostly they have this uneasy feeling about how America's not the same anymore, and it doesn't look the same. Their neighborhood doesn't look the same, and they can't say the same things, etc. But the other half is the half that Hillary Clinton never addresses. So here, she makes the same exact mistake, but then add in a disastrous cherry on top. So she thinks, look, it's partly emotional, psychological for these folks. Okay, yeah, I think it is for some of them. But for a lot of them, they just hate the establishment. And Donald Trump was the first mega star in politics to come along and give a middle finger to the establishment. And that quarter of the country, half of the Republicans, went nuts. They've been waiting for that for so long. And hence it made them feel like he was the only one that was honest. And now that's, of course, the most ironic thing in the world, because he's a legendary con man and a pathological liar, but he finally said something honest that no other politician says. That's why, by the way, Bernie was popular, because he said something similar, but he doesn't say it as harshly. And that's why progressives in Congress drive me crazy, the way that they are so damn polite to the establishment. When in reality, if you had one progressive say the anti-establishment things that Trump says, they'd run away with this thing, right? And so you don't need the racism, you don't need any of that stuff. So again, I think Hillary Clinton's half right, but half wrong. And when she says things like, the fever will break. No, come on, that's preposterous. Same thing Biden says, they're not getting it because they think, oh, the establishment is definitely right, and the great majority of the country totally agrees. We're just going through a temporary fever, and once we're done with the fever, then everybody will go back to the status quo being great. All of my friends in the cocktail circuit think it's great. I don't understand, right? And so, and then she says the re-education thing, which she didn't quite say it like that. But you don't know enough about Republican politics to know that they're going to run with that like crazy, and they're going to pretend you're going to set up actual re-education camps, etc. So I wouldn't have started that fire. We'll get into that debate in a second too. But before we go to that debate and we go to the Trump supporters countering, let me go to Trae and get his initial thoughts on this.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you guys are saying. First of all, the whole thing about how there's a bunch of racists, they don't have the support Trump does. I've always said that I think the racism and bigotry is kind of just the icing on the FU cake that he baked for these people to hurl in the face of the establishment or the elitist left as they perceive it. So there's definitely a lot more to it going on. And like you said, she had to know. I mean, she literally had to know what the response to this would be. But it's kind of like, back when she made the deplorables comment, and now, I see it, and part of me is like, I mean, I hear you, sister. I know where you're coming from, but this is really going to rile them up. You know what I mean? The only thing that could rile them up more than this would be if Barack Obama called them a bunch of stupid trailer trash or something. It's all right, I'm allowed to say it. But there's very few things that could get them more hot and bothered than Hillary making these kind of statements. It's giving them bulletin board material, in the Trump campaign, feeding right into, exactly what they thrive on, which is feeling very, very strongly that the establishment, the left, that they look down their nose at them, think they're inherently better than them, and have no place for them in American society. So yeah, they're going to take that ball and run with it. But at the same time, she ain't entirely wrong, in my opinion.
Michael, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it's great that Clay has that Clay County, Tennessee background, because without it, you wouldn't know that he was from Clay County, Tennessee. So that's super helpful. One of the things that Hillary Clinton did in 2015, 2016 with deplorables was that it was right, and it was politically just tone deaf and stupid to have said it, and that bore out. And I think that's what Trae is saying as well. And I think in this case, it's the same thing to a degree, but it doesn't matter because she's not the nominee. And the people that don't like Hillary Clinton, that are Donald Trump supporters, are not going to be moved by. They're already motivated by Hillary Clinton in the recesses of their minds. I don't think this is that big a deal, and I do think that there is an agreement that once Trump is off the stage, and I think that was the context of what she was saying. Maybe I'm wrong, but once Trump is off the stage, that the fever pitch will lower. I think
no way, 0% chance.
Once he is not part of it, the cult of personality, and that's what I think this is to a degree, and I think a lot of politics is a cult of personality. I think that's what happens. But I think that once he is gone, I've talked about this before, I think with you, Cenk, where I think it's like, people who come out to watch Donald Trump are like people who watch a golf tournament when Tiger Woods is playing. If Tiger Woods isn't playing, there are a lot of people who aren't watching golf. I think a lot of these people who came because of Donald Trump are going to leave when he does. So that's what I mean, and that's why I think she is right to a degree about the fever pitch. While he's there, and he is there now, and he's there in a major way, that's not just going to go away. It's definitely not going to go away. It's not naive to think that the moderates within the House, as a matter of fact, with no leadership in the House right now, Donald Trump has a bigger hold on the Republican Party than he had 3 days ago. So for now, it's not going to happen.
Okay, so we can continue to disagree about the fever breaking. There's no chance that it breaks, in my opinion. None, zero.
Well, you think it's going to stay? Wait, excuse me. You think it's going to stay when Donald Trump is gone?
So, Michael, your point about Tiger Woods is a good one, and so a lot of his voters will stay home. They'll get disgruntled with politics, etc. But if you think that the Republican Party is then going to go back to the party of Bob Dole, Mitt Romney,
but I think that they
Liz
will.
Cheney,
If he loses, I think that they will start to revert to a degree to some of that. But I don't think it's going to go away at all. But I also don't think that these are people that will get disgruntled with politics. I think these are people who are not gruntled with politics. I think that they are interested in Donald Trump, and they're there for that party. A lot of them, not all of them.
They'll just find Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz,
no, but those people won't be, because of the cult of personality, those people won't be taken seriously nationally in the way Trump has. He had a platform before he got there. They have a platform, but it's very different than what his was.
Michael, look, the Republican voters despise the establishment, and they're never going to have that fever break and go, they're okay. It's just not going to happen. So we can disagree about it. Trey, get your thoughts real quick before we go to those voters.
I mean, I think there's something about Trump that like you just can't coach. I don't know that I believe that anyone, like Tiger Woods, I think that's a good analogy. I don't know that anyone's really going to fill those shoes. I mean, famous last words, but I just don't see it. You know what I mean? I don't think the fever is going to completely break. Those people will remain there, but the Republican Party's, if he loses especially, they'll have to change in some way, right? It won't be like sustainable anymore, I feel like. I mean, they have this like strategy of like, antagonizing more and more demographics of Americans and more narrowly defining the people they're appealing to. And I just don't see how that's going to be successful in the long term. So they'll either, I don't know, they're going to have to change or just die out eventually, hopefully. Maybe that's too optimistic. But I mean, yeah, I don't think that Trump can be replicated exactly. He's just too different.
Okay, of course, we'll see how that develops. So Michael was in South Carolina recently, talked to those Trump supporters, and actually asked them like how they feel about being in a, whether they think they're in a cult. And so let's see what their answer is.
All the economists are saying the economy is on the rebound, historic lows in unemployment right now. Does that impact you?
As a matter of fact, I don't believe any of that. It's not what I witnessed, so I don't believe it.
And did you believe, I guess pre-pandemic, because that's kind of a blip, but pre-pandemic when President Trump was in office, did you believe the metrics then?
Not from the mainstream media, but anything that he said generally in his administration, I believed.
So if it was coming from him, it was gospel. Because there are a lot of people that say, well, that's turning a blind eye to things if you're only trusting the person who's saying it. Almost it's cult-like. Does this feel cult-like at all to you?
No, not at all. In fact, what's cult-like to me is watching the mainstream media and listening to the existing administration.
Well, look, guys, again here, I think half wrong, half right. So half wrong is the obvious part. No, Michael's right. Those are the same numbers from the same organizations. They're putting it out during Trump. They're putting it out during Biden. The Trump numbers pre-pandemic were pretty good on some of the things like unemployment, et cetera. And when Trump quoted those numbers, those guys were like, yeah, of course, these numbers are the greatest things. God bless those institutions. When they say it's even better under Biden, they're like, no, goddamn those institutions and goddamn those numbers. I'm not gonna believe anything other than the cult leader, right? On the other hand, well, that guy said, I don't believe anything from the mainstream media. And I can make an argument for mainstream media being a cult and telling you that the politicians are honest people that are having real debates and have a certain ideology. I think that people, including some Trump supporters who say, no, that's total nonsense. They do exactly what their donors tell them to do, have an excellent case to make. In fact, I agree with that case 100%. And so it's a cult of a different sort. And if you challenge a mainstream media follower, hey, do you really believe that these millions of dollars that they're getting, and what Mitch McConnell's getting is evil? They'll say, oh, of course, Mitch McConnell's a terrible guy getting money from those corporations. Nancy Pelosi, the same money comes into her. Do you think she's evil and bad and corrupt? They'll say, oh, no way. Nancy Pelosi's an angel. Tell me you're not in a cult. You sure you're not in a cult? So I'm curious what you guys think. Trae, I'll start with you this time.
I mean, yeah, definitely. There's, some like people see things the way they want to. I mean, that's why it was so dangerous about them establishing, the whole fake news thing, and anything they don't like, they can just dismiss as not being real. And that's, chapter 1 of their playbook now. And that's extremely frustrating because you can't use facts to reason your way out of a dynamic like that. And everybody now lives in a bubble on both sides. And I agree with you. You're right. But I do think that I feel like the leftist version of that, to me, like they're not making, the equivalent of Trump or death flags or like festooning their entire vehicle with his face or painting portraits of him with 6-pack abs and like doing the Heisman at the goal line, stiff arming Joe Biden and stuff like that. So like it feels a little different and a little cultier to me. But yeah, I mean, you definitely have a point there.
Yeah, but Trae, I'll just say this before I kick it over to Michael. So you're right about that, but that's 50-50 too. When it dips into violence, it's a disaster. It's not anything like Nancy Pelosi supporters. I don't know any Nancy Pelosi supporters who are like, oh my God, let's go leave the cocktail party and attack someone. Okay, so that's not gonna happen. At the same time, part of the reason why the Democrats don't have that cult of personality around them is because they don't really have a leader that fights for them. None of their leaders fight for them, so it's hard to rally around the base and make rocky pictures of what? Who? Biden or Pelosi? Schumer? Is that right? Come on, right? So go ahead.
But you don't have to have that, right? To have it be honest and successful. And what Trae called it a bubble, right? Which is better than calling it a cult. There's a difference when you have people who will blindly support somebody, who will go to their rallies when he wasn't a candidate and are now going when he is a candidate, and just agreeing with every single thing he says and dismissing fact. I mean, that's a little bit different. That is almost, you're entranced by somebody, rather than, yes, the mainstream media. You can criticize them. I'm not as critical of them as you are, Cenk. But there's a little bit of a difference, actually, a great big difference between following one person the way these people do in politics. It doesn't happen a lot. It didn't happen even, I wouldn't liken the Bernie stuff to that either. I wouldn't liken, maybe George Wallace is the last time we've had anything like that. And so and even Wallace didn't have a hold. He lost the nomination. Are you asking me something? Oh no. Okay, you're not. But so I don't think you can make the same. I think it's a false equivalency to call what you're saying with great merit about money in politics and the media the same as what they're saying about Donald Trump and what we're seeing on the trail.
Well, Bernie had a different kind of cult, right? I know what the Hillary Clinton people and the Joe Biden people will say, oh yeah, there's the Bernie bros, they're terrible and stuff. No, Bernie's cult was.
It wasn't a cult, Cenk.
No, I know. It definitely wasn't a cult. First of all, they don't even exist anymore. They're not blindly following Bernie. Right. They're not giving him praise for no reason out of nowhere. We've criticized him a number of times and how he's handled himself in the last couple of years. But in a lighthearted way, the followers of Bernie, they love him with the mittens, remember, at the inauguration. And they love when the little bird lands. it's like the most pleasant followers you can imagine.
I mean, it's a meme thing. It's not really. And one thing on that, when Bernie Sanders went to Charlottesville, Virginia, shout out for Charlottesville, Virginia, and he spoke at the University of Virginia, a student asked him, what are you supposed to do if you're really progressive and you're getting Democrats? I don't know who to vote for, et cetera. This was during the 2020 election. And Bernie Sanders said, suck it up and make that vote because it's going to make a difference. And that's different. Donald Trump would never say that about any other Republican. And if he were to lose the nomination, which doesn't appear he will, at least not without imprisonment, and even then, who knows, you see the difference there. He would never say anything like that because it's about Trump, not about the big picture.
All right, super last thing, you've heard all of our points on this. It was a little bit of a Grant Williams moment. I don't think you get in Jimmy Butler's face in the middle of the playoffs. So and I'm not trying to compare Donald Trump to Jimmy Butler, who I really like, but her saying they need to be deprogrammed, she should know way better than that because it's going to allow Trump to say, when they come after me, it isn't because I'm a lifelong criminal and con man and I actually broke all these laws. It's because they're coming after you. Which is actually not at all true. They're not coming after you at all. But now they get to pretend that that's what's happening because the right wingers, let's keep it real. And if you're a right winger, don't tell me this isn't true, are a lot more conspiratorial. I mean, you mention any kind of camp, they're like, we know it, we're all going to be put into Hobbit homes and FEMA camps. Never happened, never gonna happen, but they believe it with 2,000% intensity. So, but at the same time, you can't worry too much about what psychotic people think. No, Obama never did FEMA camps. You guys never learned that lesson that maybe, just maybe, your leaders, yes, our leaders often lie, we point that out. Your leaders lie 24/7 and you still can't seem to see it. So that part is cult-like for sure.
Can you put that in NHL parlance instead of NBA parlance?
Only if I could use a Wayne Gretzky reference.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.